A beggar named Michael lived at a large train station in London. He earned his keep by asking for change from the passengers traveling on the arriving and departing trains. One day, while he was begging, he spotted a tall man in a sharp suit and polished shoes. Michael thought, "This man looks very wealthy. If I ask him for money, he will surely give me a generous amount." He immediately approached the tall man and began to beg. Seeing the beggar, the tall man, whose name was Arthur, said, "You are always taking. Do you ever give anything to anyone?" Michael replied, "Sir, I am a beggar. I am always asking people for things. I don't have the means to give anything to anyone." Arthur responded, "If you cannot give anything, then you have no right to ask. I am a businessman, and I believe only in the principle of give and take. If you have something to offer me, only then can I give you something in return." After saying this, the tall man boarded the train and was gone. The beggar began to dwell on the words the man had spoken. The tall man's advice resonated deeply within Michael. He started to think that perhaps the reason he didn't receive more money while begging was that he never gave anything in return. Yet he mused, "I'm just a beggar. I have nothing worth giving." But he kept asking himself, "How long will I continue to only take from people without giving anything back?" After a long period of contemplation, Michael decided that he would give something in return to every person who gave him alms. But now a new question plagued his mind. What could he, a beggar, possibly give in exchange for money? 2 days passed while he pondered this question, but he could not find an answer. On the third day, as he was sitting near the station entrance, his gaze fell upon some beautiful flowers that were blooming on the nearby bushes. He thought, "Why don't I give people a few flowers in exchange for their charity?" He liked the idea, and he immediately picked a handful of the flowers. He then returned to the train platforms to beg. From that moment on, whenever someone gave him money, he would, in turn, give that generous person a few flowers. People happily accepted the flowers and kept them. The beggar now picked flowers every day and distributed them to people in exchange for their donations. Within a few days, he noticed that many more people began giving him money. He would pick all the flowers near the station. As long as he had flowers to give, many people would donate to him. But when he ran out of flowers to share, he would receive no donations. This became his new daily routine. One day, while he was begging, he saw the same tall man sitting on a train, the very man who had inspired him to give flowers in exchange for money. He quickly moved toward the man and, while asking for money, said, "Today, I have some flowers to offer you. If you give me a donation, I will give you some flowers in return." The tall man gave him some cash, and Michael gave him a small bunch of flowers. The tall man was very pleased. He said, "Wonderful. Today you have become a businessman, just like me." Having said that, the tall man took the flowers and stepped off the train at his destination. Once again, the tall man's words struck a chord deep within the beggar's heart. He kept thinking about what the businessman had said and felt overwhelming joy. His eyes started to shine. He realized that he had found the key to success that could transform his life. He instantly stepped down from the train, looked up at the sky with great excitement, and shouted loudly, "I am not a beggar! I'm a businessman. I can become rich." People who saw him thought he must have gone mad. And from the very next day, the beggar was never seen at that station again. However, 6 months later, 2 men in smart suits were traveling on the same train. They looked at each other, and one of them extended his hand and said, "Do you recognize me?" The second man replied, "No, I don't believe we have met before." The first man said, "No, please try to remember. This is not our first meeting, but our third." The second man said, "I still can't recall. When did we meet the other 2 times?" The first man smiled and said, "We met twice before on this train. I am the beggar whom you told what to do with my life during our first meeting, and who you told who I really was during our second meeting." The second man smiled, surprised, and said, "Oh, I remember now. You are the beggar I once refused to give money to, and the second time I bought some flowers from you. But where are you going now in that suit? And what are you doing these days?" The first man replied, "Yes, I am that beggar. But today I am a very successful wholesale flower merchant, and I am traveling to another city on business." After a short pause, he continued, In our first meeting, you taught me the law of nature, that we receive something only when we give something in return. This law of give and take truly works. I experienced it firsthand, but I still thought of myself as nothing more than a beggar, never daring to think beyond that. When we met for the second time, you told me I had become a businessman. That's when I finally understood that I was truly a merchant, not a beggar. I realized why people were giving me so much money. It wasn't charity. They were paying the value of the flowers. Everyone was buying my flowers because they couldn't find them cheaper anywhere else. In the eyes of the public, I was a small vendor. But in my own eyes, I was still just a beggar. Your words made me realize I was a small businessman. I used the money I collected selling flowers on the train to buy more flowers in bulk, and I grew into a large-scale flower merchant. People here love flowers, and their simple preference is what made me a successful flower merchant today. Both businessmen were happy, and when the station arrived, they stepped off together, continuing their conversation about business as they walked on. Moral of the story: this story teaches us that success is deeply connected to your mindset and the law of give and take. The businessman understood that the world operates on exchange, and he shared this valuable formula. The beggar applied this natural law, and the impact was immediate. By changing his perspective, he changed his entire life. If you limit yourself with a small view of who you are, you will always remain small. To achieve greatness, you must expand your thinking, redefine your self-worth, and realize that you are capable of much more than you currently believe. Success is hidden in your thoughts. Embrace a positive self-image, think big, and watch yourself ascend to the peak of achievement.